Welcome to Long, Slow, Deep. This practice holds a special place in my heart because it is as much about finding quiet space between our ears as it is a little extra space through hamstrings and hips and shoulders. So gather up, block, strap, blanket, a sandbag if you have it, turn down the lights, find some music that's kind of deep and sultry and slow, and set yourself up for just kind of a really decadent, slow, intentional practice. Coming onto hands and knees, we're moving into child's pose to catch our breath a little bit tonight. Sinking hips back toward heels, taking knees a little bit wider so we can nestle ourselves down, reaching arms toward the top of our mat, finding a place to rest our foreheads. If foreheads don't easily meet the floor, think about foreheads to hands or blocks or forearms. Let our eyes close softly and start to shift all of our attention to our breath. And this is where we get to hit the pause button. Not being worried about anything else that is whirling and twirling around between our ears right now. This is all about quiet and still and slow movement. Finding a couple of full, round breaths, long, slow inhalations, long, slow exhalations. Getting our attention on that long, slow, even breath. And taking time to find an intention for our practice, looking for that word or phrase that inspires us, that challenges us, that encourages us to move. Looking for words that are kind, looking for words that are generous, like we are speaking to the person that we love most in the world. Shifting those words around so that they are set in the present, so that as you repeat them to yourself, just before you tuck them away, you are echoing the truth. I am strong, I am patient, I am kind. With that intention tucked away in mind's eye, imagine being able to just print it on the inside of your forehead. Let yourself find 5 of the biggest, fullest, roundest breaths that your body can take. Being slow and intentional with these breaths because we are breathing into a space that is a little bit constricted, a little bit confined. Still looking to take that inhalation just toward our belly button. Long, smooth exhalation about the same length. Thinking about it as starting our stretching from the inside out. Broadening through the top of our back. Thinking about starting to walk our fingertips toward the top of our mat, perhaps lifting elbows, perhaps coming up on fingertips. Thinking about being able to stretch through your armpits. As we let go of that last long, slow, complete exhalation. Palms to your mat. Starting to lift ourselves up onto all fours. Hands just ahead of shoulders, tucking knees under, hips, curling toes under, shifting hips back and up, finding our very first downward dog.
So remembering that this is your practice above all else. So if you can figure out a way to move better, a way that suits your body more appropriately than my words, absolutely. Find your own path. Maybe you stay in tabletop, move through cat and cow here. Maybe low backs are tender and we keep knees deeply bent. Maybe we step back a little bit, lift hips, walk through heels. And then whenever you are ready, drop that right knee underneath of that right hip. Turn that left foot flat with the back of our mat. Right hand under right shoulder. And start to lift that left arm up toward the sky. Think about being able to take your hand behind the line of your shoulder. Think about being able to stretch the top of your chest. Undoing all of that kind of curled into ourselves shape that we find when we work over something. Turning our palm toward the top of our mat, reaching over that left ear. Think about as much space as you can find from the outside edge of that left foot out through those left fingertips. Lifting back up toward the sky. And dropping that left hand to the floor, squaring hips, left leg out behind us, straight and strong. Connected with our breath. With your next exhalation, we are going to bend that left knee in toward our belly button, around our back, reach our nose toward that knee. Inhale, full extension. You might lift your nose, you might bring that heel just above the line of your hip. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, full extension, moving with your breath. Think about drawing toes back towards shins so that we're pressing through our heel on the extension. Once more, knee to nose. Full extension. Shifting the weight into your left hand, right arm reaches toward the top of your mat, palm facing in. We're going to bend that left knee, foot in toward our bum. Right hand reaches back, grabs onto the front of our ankle, the top of our foot, our pant leg. And you know what? Maybe they don't meet. Maybe they just reach toward each other, and that's okay. If we've got a hold of something, imagine being able to straighten your left knee, moving that bind up and away from our bums. Letting go of that bind, coming back to the midline, full extension. Right hand down, left knee down. We're going to step back into a plank pose. The chaturanga is part of your practice and you know and love it. Roll forward, lower down. If half chaturanga is more your speed, lower knees, tuck elbows in, lower yourself down as slowly as you can. Landing, hands under shoulders, feet just, I don't know, a little bit wider than hips. Press into the tops of your feet, the front of your hips. Start to peel chin and chest up off the floor. Elbows still tucked together. We might float hands. Nicely done. Hands down, nose down. Toes curl under. We lift back into that plank pose. Shift hips back and up. Look for that downward dog. Again, finding the shape that fits. Notice how our low backs feel here. Notice if we need to shift the position of our feet. Notice if we have room to walk through our heels. And then whenever you are ready, that left knee comes down to the floor. I'm going to turn so that you don't see my back. We've got that left hand down underneath of our left shoulder, left knee under left hip, right foot to the bottom of our mat. The right arm reaches toward the sky. Think about taking that right hand behind the line of our shoulder. Drawing it back in line, palm toward the top of your mat. Right hand reaches, reaches, reaches over that right ear. Reaching back toward the sky, dropping that right hand back toward the floor, squaring hips. Right leg out behind us, straight and strong. Connecting with your breath. Next exhalation has that right knee tucking in towards your belly button. Nose reaching down, round your back. Make room for that connection. Inhale, full extension, pressing out through our heel. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, full extension, moving with your breath. Last exhalation, knee to nose. Stretch all the way out, shifting the weight into your right hand. Left arm reaches toward the front, top of your mat, palm facing in. Think about tucking your belly button back towards your spine. And we're going to bend that right knee, foot in toward our bottom, left hand reaches back, grabs onto top of your foot, front of your ankle, pant leg, nothing. Let that left shoulder curl open. If you've got a hold of something, imagine you could straighten that right knee. Keeping our balance, keeping our breath, keeping our sense of humor. Letting go of that bind back into a full extension. Left hand down, right knee down. Stepping back into that plank pose. Exhaling. This time, as we lower through chaturanga, think about an extra breath before you kiss the floor. Lowering all the way down. Looking for that little baby back bend. Perhaps this time we take hands down beside hips, like we're flying through space. Hands back under shoulder, nose is down, toes curl under. We press back into plank pose. Shift back into downward dog. And then whenever you're ready, dropping onto knees, crossing at the ankle, and sitting behind your feet. So, setting ourselves up in a supported seated space. So, in my body, supported seated is with something under my hips just a little. It's like I'm sitting on the front edge of something just to tilt your pelvis forward, kind of protect our low backs. We're going to grab onto, no we're not, we're going to move that stuff out of the way, and we're going to find a nice wide-legged sit. You're going to think about drawing your toes back towards your shins. You're going to think about rocking yourself around so your sits bones are kissing the floor. And you're going to find your breath again. Before we find these folds, let's find a little bit of space. Let's take our right hand down toward our right ankle, drop our elbow in, reach that left arm up toward the sky, and imagine that you could tickle your right toes with your left fingers. Think about as much space through side body as you can find. All the way upright, left hand comes down, right arm reaches up, reaching over to touch those left toes with your right fingertips. Again, thinking about as much space through here as we can find, so that as we find a forward fold on the angle, we're not
not pulling on anything. Drawing all the way back upright. Hands come down to the floor. We're going to think about leading with the top of our chest. We often have the inclination to kind of curl into ourselves to find a forward fold. Instead, think about shoulders back and down, leading with the top of your chest, and just letting yourself come as far into the folds it takes to find a stretch that feels like something. This should absolutely feel like something. It should feel like a stretch. So this is where I close my eyes, because with my eyes closed, my forward fold looks much better than it does with my eyes open. So we're looking for about 5 full even breaths wherever you are inside this shape. Remembering this is the least serious thing you're going to do all day. If you find that relax and release response where there's just the littlest amount of space, we wiggle down into it. Nicely done. Let's start to lift ourselves back upright. And turn and face that right ankle. Draw yourself across. Think about shoulders being square with your ankle. There we go. We're going to start to walk ourselves forward. Again, just as far as it takes to find that stretch. If we have lots of room to play here, think about left ankle to the outside of our right ankle. Nope, left hand to the outside of our right ankle. And then bringing that right hand in, still leading with the top of our chest, still thinking about shoulders back and down. Nicely done. Easing yourself all the way back up, coming back to center. And then turning to the left, again, thinking about shoulders square with that left ankle, hands come down, shoulders back and down, walking ourselves forward. Just take yourself as far in as it takes to find that stretch. Again, maybe we've got lots of space and that right hand comes to the outside of our left ankle before that left hand comes in. Maybe what we really do is pull with that right shoulder so that we can start to feel all of that space that we warmed up in those side stretches. Maybe that's where we're looking. Just finding your breath, smooth and even. Nicely done. We're going to inhale, draw ourselves all the way back upright, come all the way back to center. And one last chance to sink yourself forward. Let your hands walk forward. If you've got lots of room, maybe hands come to big toes. Maybe you can totally kiss the floor, and that's okay too. Find your speed. Find your breath. We're going to start to walk ourselves upright. We're going to pick up one leg and then the other. We're going to draw our knees in, heels in, give ourselves a great big hug. We're going to move everything off of our mats. We're going to find that strap, and again, sandbag if you've got one. I know some of you do. Lower yourself all the way down to the floor. Once you're down there, maybe we pick up our hips, settle them back on our mat, looking for that connection through the back of our hips. We're going to keep that left foot planted on the floor. We're going to draw our right knee in toward our chest. Land your hands wherever they need to be to support your shape. And then whenever you're ready, start to stretch that left leg all the way out along your mat.
Thinking about landing on the back of your heel, toes drawn back towards shins. And then let that leg be heavy. Thinking about it just being a counterweight to that right knee tucked in. Thinking about being a passive stretch to the front of that left hip. And then we're going to grab on. We're going to grab onto that strap. So we're going to take that strap, wrap it around the ball of our right foot. And if you've got the sandbag, you're going to bring it to the front of your left hip. Wow, that was awkward. Okay, we've got one end of the strap into each hand. We've got that left hip weighted. If you're at this point and you are extremely uncomfortable, not in a good way, think about bending that left knee and finding a shape that looks more like this. Really find your own speed. Find a practice that works. So we've got one end of the strap in each hand. We're starting to draw tension into that strap. We're thinking about sending our toes into that space above our nose. If you get the shakes, just find your breath. Maybe ease off a little bit. We're going to shift both ends of the strap into our right hand. We're going to bring that left arm open at shoulder height, turn our right toes out. Let that right leg drop as far as it can, keeping our hips square to the floor. When you notice that left hip starting to lift in order to find space on the right side, draw that right leg back in, anchor yourself on the left side, and you found your range of motion. So with your range of motion, you might add tension back in, thinking about drawing toes toward the wall behind you. You might just be looking to catch your breath. You might just sink into the stretch. We're going to inhale, nice and controlled, draw that right leg all the way back to center. Shift hands. We've got strap in our left hand. We need to get that sandbag out of the way. Let's pop it over here for a second. Right arm out at shoulder height. We're going to start to draw that right foot just across the midline. Thinking about a stretch that keeps that right hip anchored to the floor and just takes that right foot as far to the left as it can without that right hip leaving the floor too far. Again, looking for a stretch between the outside edge of our right hip to the outside edge of our right knee. We've just got a couple of breaths here. And then whenever you're ready, you can let yourself drop as far into that twist as you would like to go. Smooth, even breaths. Next inhalation draws that right leg all the way back to center. We're going to draw that right knee in toward our chest, and we can still use the strap as a handle. We're going to let that right knee drop off the side of our chest, sole of our foot open to the sky. If you would like to replace your hand, we can set that strap aside. We've still got that left leg stretched all the way out. Again, thinking about a really passive stretch in the front of our left hip. Right sole of our foot is open to the ceiling. Left arm is open at shoulder height. Nicely done. And then whenever you are ready, drop that left foot back to the floor. Release that right ankle to the top of our left knee. Right knee drops out to the right side. And we've got hands or a strap around the back of that left thigh, drawing our knees in toward our chest. So I like to use a strap here because it gives us a little bit of extra freedom in our hips, so without worrying about too much lift through our shoulders or too much tension in the back of our neck. So even if you can interlace your hands at the front of, in behind that left knee, think about just once, try using a strap and notice if it changes that position at all. So we're drawing our knees in toward our chest. We can't find that stretch, rock gently from side to side, chase it a little bit. I promise you'll find it. Again, thinking about those smooth, even breaths. Nicely done. We're going to let that left foot come down to the floor. Right foot's going to come down beside it. I'm going to set that strap aside just for a second and draw that left knee in toward our belly. Right foot's going to stay exactly where it is. We've got that left knee tucked in as tightly as we can. Hands are going to land wherever they need to be to support your shape. And then again, the option to stretch that right leg all the way out. Think about all the way out, thinking about landing on the back of that heel, toes drawn back towards shins, and again. Then that leg just gets to be heavy. Very passive stretch through hip flexors. Smooth, even breath. Notice perhaps where our attention goes when we are in postures that we hold on to for a little bit longer. Like checking in on your own attention span. And then we're going to grab onto that strap again. We're going to wrap that strap around the bottom of our left foot, extend that left leg up toward the sky. Again, if you've got the sandbag, thinking about the sandbag on the front of your right hip. Again, if this is uncomfortable or we're noticing that we're pressing really firmly into our low back, then bring that right foot to the floor. Give yourself a little bit of space. One hand on either end of that strap. Start to draw your toes toward the wall behind you. Be only slightly embarrassed at how short your hamstrings are. It's all good. We're going to shift both ends of the strap into our left hand, right arm out at shoulder height, toes out, left leg drops out. As far as it can go, keeping hips square to the floor. Really aware of where that right hip is. If we've got lots of room, we might add tension back into that strap, drawing our toes toward the wall behind us. Next inhalation draws that left leg all the way back to center. We take time to shift that sandbag. Stretch that right leg out if it isn't already. Switch both ends of the strap into our right hand. Again, left hip anchored, left foot just across the midline. And next exhalation lets you take that left foot as far to the right as it would like to go. Remembering that we are wonderfully asymmetrical, so we have no expectations that as we move our postures and stretches and shapes from one side to the other, that they look the same. They won't. Nicely done. Let's inhale all the way back to center. Start to bend your knee in towards your belly. We can either grab a hold of that strap and find our a happy baby pose, or shift the strap, grab on the sole of our foot. So the sole of our foot is open toward the sky, knee tucked down toward the floor. Right leg is still stretched out. Checking in that we're not creating tension anywhere else. Checking in that we aren't scrunching our face or holding on really tight through hips or shoulders. And then we're going to bring that right foot to the floor. We're going to release that left ankle to the top side of our right knee. Left knee drops out to the left side. And again, hands or a strap around the back of that right thigh. Front of our right shin. Again, I'm going to challenge you to grab onto a strap. See if it changes your shape. Sometimes we think that there is a benefit in wrapping hands around and finding that where we're kind of pulled up through the back of our shoulders and have the back of our head just kissing the floor. There's no benefit. Let your arms to be just a little bit longer. This also gives you a free hand to perhaps hold on the strap with one hand and press gently away on the left side. Nicely done. We've got right foot coming down, left foot coming down beside it. We're gonna drop that aside. We're gonna draw knees in toward our bellies. Rock just a little bit from side to side. We're gonna tuck our hands in behind our knees. We're gonna roll ourselves back up, coming into whatever easy seated looks like in your body. So we're gonna say hello to our hips. Let's start with right leg stretched all the way out. Abby's telling me that I'm running out of time. We're going to tuck that left heel in as tightly as we can, give it a nice big hug. And then we're going to release that left ankle to the top side of our right knee. We're going to let that left knee drop out to the left side. Think about toes drawn back towards shins. Think about hands in behind hips, sitting up tall and straight, shoulders back and down. We might just lean into this a little bit. Think about taking the top of your chest down toward that left shin. Nicely done. We're going to start to lean back, lean into our hands, bring that right foot to the floor, and we're going to start to walk that right foot to the left. And as we lean forward again, we're going to find some variation of fire log pose. And I will save the joke about fire log pose for another day, because you've probably already heard it. So if fire log pose is not something that your body is comfortable with, think about just tucking that right foot in, letting that left foot drop forward, and find a nice open, easy seated space. If you are playing with fire log pose, thinking about ankle over knee, knee over ankle, and if you've got big spaces, then stuff them with something. I'm going to grab onto the sandbag just because it's the closest thing. Your shirt, a pair of socks, a pillow, blanket, all work. And so thinking about your shins being parallel with the end of your mat. Think about shoulders back and down. And we're just going to find 5 breaths sitting right here, really connecting with your breath. Nicely done. We're going to take out our stuffing. We're going to start to lean back. We're going to walk that right foot back to the left. We're going to bring that left foot back to the floor. And we're going to keep that right knee tucked in. Stretch that left leg out. Give yourself a great big hug. We're going to shift that right ankle to the top side of our right knee drops out to the side. Think about hands in behind hips, just landing on your fingertips. Think about the top of your chest down toward that right shin. We're going to inhale back up, start to lean back, sole of our left foot lands. We start to walk that left foot to the right. And again, no expectations that this is the same on one side as it is on the other. Wiggle yourself around. Find out where we need to stuff our spaces. And again, 5 more full, even breaths, just as you are. Letting yourself be really grounded here. Think about our connection through hips, through knees, through the outside edges of our feet. Think about being really slow and intentional with our breath, remembering that our breath is one of our most powerful tools as we move in and out of situations that aren't easy. We all know we can do hard things, but sometimes keeping our breath in checks makes those hard things just a little more bearable. Like fire log pose. Another breath here. We're gonna shift our stuffing. We're gonna start to lean back, walk that left foot back to the left side. Right foot comes down. We're gonna lower ourselves down as slowly as we can. Okay. Stretch that left leg out. Right knee comes in toward our belly. We're going to shift that left hand to the outside of our right knee. Right arm open up wide, and we're going to draw that right knee as far to the left as it would like to go. Think about being able to wring yourself out. All the way back. Right foot comes down, left foot comes back to meet it. Left knee comes in, right leg stretches out. Right hand, left knee, left arm open. Start to draw that left knee as far to the right as it would like to go. Nicely done. We're going to drop that left hip back to the floor. And if there's still any pose or stretch or shape that your body is craving, take time to land yourself in whatever that is. And then gather up all of your comfy cozies. Gather up all of the things that make your Shavasana perfect. So think about blankets, pillows, blocks, bolsters, and set yourself up in your most supported, most comfortable shape for final relaxation. If that finds you against a wall and legs up the wall is where you choose to land, go for it. If it's lying on your side because lying on your back isn't all that comfortable, go for it. If it's back in child's pose because you are feeling like you need to tuck yourself in and be a little bit careful with yourself, try that too. Just looking to support ourselves. Think about pillows under knees or pillows between knees if we're laying on our sides, and let yourself fall into a place where you can let your eyes close softly, maybe an eye pillow. And I'm going to let you land in your best Shavasana. Find your breath. Take time to let the benefits of this practice sink into your skin and your mind and your fascia. And I'm going to let you land in Shavasana for as long as feels good today. And I am going to send you off with all of my love. And I look forward to seeing you soon.